Okay, dude. So my first question for you, now that you've been in Arizona and we have an excessive heat warning as of today's recording.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's 111 degrees outside.
Wow, 111.
Exactly.
I like
Would you rather be would you rather be too hot or too cold?
that. Okay. It's going to sound contrary because of my move, but I'd probably rather be, it depends. Like if we're talking like sleeping, like I'd rather be way too cold because you can't layer down.
Sleeping,
You know?
I'm talking like living.
Living.
I'm talking full on living, dude.
I think I'd rather be too hot.
Okay.
But the thing is for me is like in Minnesota when it's so cold out, like it's like, where's my jacket? Where's my hoodie? And you got like 4 layers on. And then you get indoors somewhere and it's like you got to unlayer down. Where it's here, it's just like shorts and a t-shirt every day, bro.
Right. But what's pissing me off is once you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah.
When you're cold, you can always get warmer,
That's true.
you know?
But if you've ever walked into any of the stores around here, they just blast the AC. So it's
Right.
like,
There's ways to get
yeah.
colder,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
There's solutions to all of it. Yeah, I haven't, because, you know, as I work construction, and
Do you even consider that construction? You work at a power plant.
that's construction. We're building something at a power plant.
Oh, okay.
Same company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But I think working in 111 degree temperature outside and you're just sweating your balls off versus like it's negative 20 and you're just all bundled up. Honestly, I would take the hot.
Really?
I would take the hot.
Wow.
I would take the hot.
I don't work outside, so.
Yeah. You work in the Ikonick studio.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fucking sick, man.
Thank you.
Cheers to that, by the way.
Cheers.
We didn't officially cheers to start the podcast, but
Yeah. We didn't. We also didn't officially get sponsored by Stella, but
we didn't. Yeah, we did not officially get sponsored by Stella, but it's totally cool. It's not the end of the world. We just drink beer.
yeah, we drink beer.
We're the. I don't know who would sponsor just guys who drink beers, but that's what we are.
I'm sure there's someone.
Yeah, there's someone.
I'm gonna get rid of this pillow.
Yeah, dude, get rid of it. So, dude, okay, so we gotta. I'm trying to figure out where I want to start. So, okay, the last time we were on, so I listened to our episode from last time.
I should have done that.
And I found some moments we can pull up later, but the crux of it was we were sitting. I kind of want to actually find the moment because it kind of starts our whole story.
This is number 3, right?
This is your 3rd time on the podcast.
Okay.
The first time you were on the podcast was episode 88.
In the attic.
In the attic. Episode 88, October 2018.
Wow.
Your second podcast, which is nuts. Episode 228.
I hit 8 again? Wow.
Yeah, and you were exactly a year later in October of 2019.
Wow.
Now, when you were on the last time, there was a moment where we talked about like balancing work and creative. And how you didn't know what the direction of Social Butterfly was going because you weren't strapped on the idea of, I don't even need to play it at this point. I know what it is. You were strapped on the idea of being creative and like running the business.
Yeah.
Does this sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Okay. So I would like you to take me back to that crux of like dealing with the wanting to be just super creative and wanting to run the business.
Yeah.
And then kind of just lead that into where you are today. Because spoiler, you close the doors with Social Butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah, we pumped the brakes.
We pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes. Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's a similar conversation where, my brain it can be very creative when it needs to be, and it can be, more business driven when it needs to be, but I can't ride the line right down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll either lean to the left and be more creative, or I'll lean to the right and be more like business oriented, or vice versa. I don't know which one's the mathematical.
Is there a left and right for
your brain? For your brain.
Right. No, there's left, right brain, but it like is one side business, one side's creative.
Yeah, typically like your
Oh.
left side, I think it's like your left side's more creative.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, man, it was a tough balance for me to. Another part of it too was I didn't have a lot of experience running a business. It was always trial and error. And when you have a big team, so the way I was trying to build my business was I was really trying to become a foundational agency and like staffing people and like really building something legitimate. And I put a lot of risk into, you know, having full-time employees and the staff that I had, where I probably could have ran things more lean. But my theory is, you know, go big or go home. Right. So I went home.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, and it was a big learning lesson for me. I don't regret it by any means. I'm super happy that I did it, but yeah, man, I just felt like I kind of hit a wall, and I was looking for something where it's like, okay, if I'm calling all the shots here and I'm learning, you know, I had a great team and like we were all working together, but ultimately like I was the one running the business, is how am I getting smarter tomorrow than I was today outside of trial and error? Like how
the 1% mentality.
Yeah, the 1% mentality. And, you know, I had some mentors and I had some really good friends who were also experienced in business, but I just wanted something bigger, better, faster. I'm a very impatient person. And so I had a really good relationship with Ikonick. I met them. It was 2018. Actually, you know what's funny is I was just talking to Mark about this, and he actually sent me the first message I sent to him.
Also, you want to turn your auto lock off so we can see the timer for our production. Brendan and I are producing our own podcast, so we got to.
How do you do that?
Go to your settings.
Auto lock.
Is it display?
Display. Display.
Yeah, we're producing our own podcast, so we have to get up every 22 minutes approximately to go and hit record on
display. The 3 cameras. Auto lock. Never.
And then just go back to when you're ready. Go back to the thing. So Mark Brazil or Mark. How do you say that guy's last name? Massandrea. So that is the co-founder of Ikonick. Yep. He's at Mark Brazil on Instagram. If you want to go check him out. But
he sent me so in August 2019, or I'm sorry, August 29, 2018. I sent him a message saying, "Been following you and Cole, aka Jeff Cole, for a while. I did some work with Gary Vaynerchuk over Super Bowl and some other projects with him 2 weeks ago. Love your hustle. Any way I can provide value in video or photo, let me know. You're an inspiration for real."
And this was after you shot the Gary V event in Rochester.
From Stationary Astronaut.
The first time I ever met you out there.
Was that?
Yeah.
Wow. Time flies by. I'm glad I met you, bro. And I sent that message to him, and I followed up. I think I told this story on the first podcast. Or the second one. I
don't think you ever did, to be honest.
Really?
You told me this story, not on a podcast.
Okay.
So maybe that's why you think that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you've ever told the story.
Long story short, I sent him that message, and Ikonick was just kind of blowing up at the time. They're only 5 years old as of today. So by the time I hit them up, they're only a few years old. They were still really getting traction, and they just got the deal where Gary Vee kind of bought into the business.
And Ikonick, for people who don't know, is a
motivational canvas art. We have like motivational canvas art, really geared towards like entrepreneurs. We're expanding into a lot of product mediums, which you'll start to see this year. But foundationally, we're canvas art. Got a lot of licensing. Yeah, some cool stuff.
Sick.
Yeah, and so I sent him that message, and I was still running Butterfly, but I was just kind of doing my IG growth, you know, kind of hacking my way into people that I looked up to. And they flew me out to, backing up a few steps. I sent him that message, and he's like, "Yeah, man, like, would love to do something." And then it just kind of flaked off. Like every other conversation, when you reach out to people, it just always starts to flake off. Unless you're like, the thing that I realized is you have to position it where it's like all they have to do is say yes. But if you just kind of hit them with a vague, like, "Hey, man, would love to help you," it's always easy for them to respond like, yeah, and then just blow it off.
Not actually follow up.
Yeah, and so I followed up. I put a reminder in my calendar every single month. Unless I heard back from him, I'm hitting him up. And I didn't want it to be like every week where it was like, okay, I'm looking like a crazy ex-girlfriend. Like I kind of wanted to play it cool, but like let him know I was serious.
Right.
And so I hit him up, and I was just like, once in a while, I was like, "Yo, man, like, still here. Would love to do something." Started shooting him some examples. And then it was about 6 or 7 months after that first message of like kind of like here and there, back and forth. I was just like, "Look, man, I'm coming out to LA New Year's Eve. I'll be there for 4 days. And if you want to meet up, I would love 15 minutes of your time. And like, I'll trade whatever. Like, I'll do like 10 fucking videos for you." And
cool.
He's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." So he sent me the address, and ended up meeting with him. 15 minutes turned into an hour. We had a really good conversation, lot of good energy. And we ended up working together. They flew me out for NBA All-Star Weekend, I believe was the first project that we worked on. And I was like, okay, now I'm here. Now I really got to prove to them, like, I'm not going to mess this up.
Right.
So when I first got there, I looked at them in the eyes and I was like, yo, I'm going to do the best thing that I possibly can do. But if I'm not doing anything right, or if you guys are seeing things that I can improve on, like, let me know. Like, I'm a straight shooter. Just like, let me know.
Just be honest.
He's like, you're a winner, bro. Like, that's like, you got some good stuff in you. So we worked together on NBA All-Star Weekend, and then they flew me out for a couple other projects, and it was always kind of like, we should work together. And it was like, are they a client? Is it something personal? And I wasn't charging them anything. It was like, they were covering my flights, my hotels, my meals and all that. But it was more of just like, I just want to tap into their network. And yeah, man, he became a really good mentor for me. And I was hopping on calls with him every now and then and just talking about my business and where I wanted to be and what they were doing. And he was giving me he gave me a few clients like Truff Hot Sauce I worked with for a little bit. And he was just saucing me some deals, pun intended, 100% pun intended. And
good pun, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
Looking back at that pun, nailed it.
But yeah, man, long story short, I was 5 years into my business, and I just felt like I was missing something. I felt like I could 100% make it work. We had a great team. We could do a lot of things, but I was just really trying to take things to the next level. And I felt like I was turning 24 at the time, and I know that's still generally young, but I was like, damn, man, like I'm 24. Like, I feel like I could be doing more. And I know the founder of Alibaba, Jack Ma, he's got a famous quote where it's like, in your 20s, you should be working for someone you look up to and learn absolutely everything, because you have your 30s and your 40s to really build a solid business. And that quote just really stuck to me. I was like, okay, if I worked for someone that I looked up to, and it was like more of like a startup feel where it wasn't like I'm just like another cog in the machine, I felt like that was really powerful, because I felt like I was going to be able to have a lot of responsibility. I was going to learn a lot, and I was still going to be able to go and start something again when I'm 30.
Right.
And so
it's not all over with starting something new.
No, it's not. and that was another thing too, is I really crafted my identity to Social Butterfly. And I started that when I was 19.
Nuts.
Yeah. So it was just like, I don't know, man. It was just something where I just like felt like I hit a wall in the business.
Sure.
We kind of leveled out, and I needed to take things to the next level. And I ended up just kind of closing the doors, and I handed off some clients to a former employee of mine, and she started an agency. So
Hannah?
Yep.
So I was going to comment on your team, just like the Social Butterfly alumni, or the Hall of Fame,
the
I should
alumni,
say.
yeah.
Like, the people, like, you had a strong team, dude.
I
You
had
had
a really
like
cool
legitimate,
team.
like...
Oh, here comes the goosebumps.
You had a legitimate workhorse of a team. You had Hannah Perez, which she now runs an agency,
Awake Social,
which and she is Awake Social's just started.
Yep.
But Hannah as a person, just the coolest cat.
Yeah, she's great.
Then you had Joe Colsey.
Yep.
Who came on late, but he was on a couple episodes ago talking about when he was working for you, and how he would literally be sleeping at your house and like taking the bus from Mankato to like shoot for you and stuff, and just like how talented he is as a photographer.
Yeah, I used to like, he would be staying at my house and I'd be like cooking him meals. Like, dude, we were grinding. And it was like, and it's those stories you look back on where it's like, damn. And I remember saying it while we were working together. I was like, we're going to look back on this shit and be like, damn, this is so cool. And it's like, it's weird that like 2 years later, I'm actually doing that.
Yeah. Crazy. And because like it was, and then to add on to that, you had Jaden, he left a little earlier in the game. And then you also had Dad, who is just
Jake Hoffman,
who's a stud.
Yeah. And then Ian.
Of course. Yeah. Ian, who now works with you at Ikonick.
Yeah. And we had some other guys like Sam Swenson. He's doing some real estate stuff now. He still does some paid ad social stuff. Ben Zaver, he just started a supplement company.
Yes.
Yeah, Seek Supply, I believe is what it is.
Okay.
Some cool stuff. But yeah, man, I had a great team, and
you had a fucking foundation.
Yeah,
dude. Like you were grinding.
But we were all grinding. I mean, we all have got our own stories. We were grinding, and so and that was another thing too, man. Like, I had such a big team, and for me to really make things work, I would have had to make some cuts, and I just didn't want to do that. So I just decided it was best to just shut things down and just kind of. I became very vulnerable in my team. I just let them know, like, yo, look, I'm, here's the bottle opener.
Oh, thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
I was like, look, I'm letting you guys know right now that I'm kind of thinking of this decision. And this was when I was kind of in between two companies. And I kind of let them know, like, look, thinking about shutting down the business. Here's my two options where I think I'm going. I'd love to help you guys get to wherever you guys want to go and however way that I can help. But I'm letting you know, like, by this date, Butterfly's done, and let's work together to get wherever else we want to go.
How far in it? What was like the runway?
I believe it was 2 or 3 months.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So they could have left and been like, I'm out, bro. Like, you're done, I'm done. But they all stayed on for the most part. And yeah, we just kind of crushed things out. And I was just super vulnerable with all my clients. And everyone kind of understood. It was a really weird time frame in my life to like, it felt like I was like carving off a piece of myself and just like letting it go.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you mentioned this already on the podcast, like how you kind of carved Social Butterfly as part of your own identity. And so like when you're ending that business and closing the doors on it, like I'm sure part of you felt like you were closing the doors or shutting down part of your identity. Is that fair to say?
100%, dude. I mean, well, first of all, I have the date that I started Social Butterfly tattooed.
Tattooed, yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's tattooed on me. And I started it my sophomore year of college, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've got a business started. I'm gonna run this for the next 50 years, and like people can make that happen all the time. And at the moment, I thought that's what I was gonna do, but I don't mean to be like cliche, but you really do live one life, and so.
Nice.
I figured
we'll clip that out.
We'll clip that out.
We'll clip that out.
Yeah, we'll clip that out. But yeah, I didn't want to be cliche, but like you live one life, and I wanted to experience something new. And so I was like, if I'm going to shut down Butterfly, I want to go live in a different state. I want to challenge myself. Yeah. I've always been someone who really puts myself into tough situations myself. And I wanted to find a way to, just kind of challenge myself.
Yeah, no, I think, so first off, like one thought that came to my mind is you start this agency, and you grow it, and you took it full time. Like that was your first real job out of college.
I was full time with Butterfly by junior year, the late end of junior year of college.
Dude, you had like the I'm building a legacy company energy early.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure
I was looking back at my Instagram posts and like just all the stuff we were doing. I'm like, I've definitely matured. I'll put it that way. Yeah. But I had some like, and it's weird, bro. I mean, we can get into it, but I like struggled with that a little bit. I felt a lot of confidence and a lot of, it was just, I don't want to call it an ego, but I had an ego a little bit, but like you kind of have to when you're running a business. Yeah, you don't want to be arrogant, but it was really weird when I only knew myself running my own decisions. So now going to a company, and we're still a startup and I have a lot of responsibility, but like now I'm having to get like things approved by someone else, and I'm riding on someone else's schedule, and I'm like kind of riding on their thought of process. So like that was a really big mental struggle for me right off the gate.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you want to just like take a project and like I'm the guy.
No,
I'm the
opposite,
guy taking the wheel.
Opposite. Okay. I felt confused. I felt lost for a little bit.
Okay.
I even questioned like, damn, did I make the right move? And I'm really happy I did. I think I did make the right move, but it was a very big mental shift to I have to make all the decisions in Minnesota, running Social Butterfly, getting my own clients, having that network, to moving. I mean, I knew you were here. I knew Hui was here. And I knew Ikonick was moving here. I didn't know anyone else. I've been to Arizona maybe 3 or 4 times. It was in and out.
Right.
And so like to pick up and move when you have your whole network, your whole business like I had a lot going there.
Right.
But when you look at it from the other perspective, it's like, okay, spend 3 years here and like think of the portfolio you can build and the business network and the people that you'll meet. So it's like, at first it was like, damn, we're really out here, huh?
I feel that heavily.
But I do have to give credit to Courtney, my girlfriend. She
your sweet girlfriend.
My sweet girlfriend. She was I'll have to tell you, bro, like if you can find a girlfriend that, when I was looking between the 2 different options there of where I wanted to go.
Of girlfriends.
No.
When I was looking between the 2 different options of girlfriends.
The 2 different options of where I wanted to go.
I'm just not.
She didn't even want to give me her feedback because she didn't want to...
cloud the judgment.
Yeah, she didn't want to cloud the judgment. And I thought that was really cool. And she was obviously willing to come out here, and she's still working remote from her job. So,
dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it just like kind of all worked out. And I've just, I've got to give it to the people around me, bro. Like whether it's in Minnesota or here, like I just got really good people around me. And as I moved throughout here and like the people I stayed connected with, it's really reminded me of that.
Yeah. No, I think it's funny how you feel like you're really out there, but what a difference that a couple years makes in one spot.
Yeah.
I mean, if looking back personally on Backpocket, on even the year 2019, or the first 3 years we started Backpocket, 2017 to 2020, I mean, we recorded over 300 podcasts. And
so nuts,
literally
dude.
I can look back and see all like that. We built the network off of just podcast after podcast after
100%.
podcast. And it's like coming out here, just getting planted out here all of a sudden is like, it's crazy. It's honestly insane because you have like the fear of like I'm leaving something I left behind. But the coolest caveat that I realized on the back end of this, now being a year out in Arizona,
You've been out here a year?
Been out here since June, yeah.
Wow.
Just getting relocated to Tucson.
I just hit 6 months.
Right. I remember you texted me. You said like, "Hey man, I'm coming out right after Christmas," right?
Yeah.
That's when it was?
Yeah. Yep. Right after Christmas.
Right after Christmas. But how that network doesn't leave you.
No, and it's actually probably grown me closer.
Yeah.
See, he saw it.
I saw it. We're at the 22. Look at this, dude.
Just producing our own podcast.
Don't worry about us, dude.
You got an excuse?
No, we have no walls, no excuses, dude.
No walls, no excuse.
All right, so we're back. Unfortunately, we're not as good as we thought we were producing our own podcast, dude.
Yeah, some things happen and some things happen for a reason.
And this might be a good advertisement for if anyone's out there that might be in Scottsdale or the greater Phoenix area and wants to learn how to produce podcasts. I could use your help greatly, honestly. Yeah. I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the challenge is what were we talking about?
Network about moving.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. So, very interesting situation because, like, I personally didn't know a lot of people out here.
Yeah, you moved out here with, like, no one, right?
I moved out here with no one as well.
Yeah.
And I had a couple people that I would go visit every once in a while that I know out here. And you were probably, like, the second or third person. I was like, wow, that's a guy I would love to go hang out with on the weekends.
Oh, yep.
And, it started with
on the links.
Yeah, exactly. It started on the golf course, dude, as most things do.
Yeah.
As most things do, especially out here in Arizona. But it was so interesting. For you, it was much more extreme because it was like you're leaving. You were the identity of the company. You left Minnesota, and now that's not necessarily a thing of the past, but just something that is kind of something you reflect on, or is now just a kind of a milestone.
Yep.
Whereas like I was leaving thinking I was coming back initially, and then I also was leaving knowing that I had Andrew back in Minnesota, still being able to run everything. So like I wasn't really run everything as in just like if there was anything that needed to be done in person in Minnesota, Andrew was there to take care of it.
That's sick that you guys were able to make that happen, though.
Yeah, and that allowed us to pivot really to this production company aspect where it was like,
great move, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mad respect there.
Yeah, thank you. Just speak a little closer to the mic.
Joe Rogan always says that.
Yeah,
he always says that.
You gotta be honest.
Yeah, you have to. 100%.
Can't not tell him because
100%.
You're gonna be kicking yourself in post production. Like, why not just fucking tell him to move the mic a tad closer? You know,
isn't 400 episodes in you learned your lesson.
Yeah, we figured it out. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. I think it's one of the cool things that I'm going through myself as a business owner or someone who's running a brand, and it's like thinking back again when I mentioned how we did 300 podcasts in 3 years. Like, I was thinking back to 2019 where we did 120 in 40 weeks, and
that's disgusting. 3
podcasts a week.
That's disgusting.
And I was just like thinking about if I were to do 3 podcasts a week right now, I was like, I would shoot myself. Like, I don't want to do that. You know,
it's a lot.
We were posting 9 pieces of content a week, three pieces of content for each episode, and we literally had that dialed in between Andrew and myself for 40 weeks straight.
That's so nuts.
But that was the season of life we were in. Like, we loved podcasting, 100%. So that's all we wanted to do. Yeah. And it's like now we don't.
And when you get the momentum behind it, like you guys just started getting more and more momentum. You started throwing parties and like get-togethers. Right. And so like you guys had a good community around it.
Right.
So.
And still do. And,
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing that we've been able to do, and I think you've done as well, which we'll get right back into, is this idea of the pivot. Like your pivot was, let me go work for someone else, because first off, I've never even done that.
Yep.
Which in comparison to most 24-year-olds at that time, like they're working for like Big Sam, like Uncle Sam, you know, like they're working for someone else. Yeah. And they're usually a massive company or some sort of situation where they're not the boss, you know? I'm not saying that's a bad experience or anything at all, but it's kind of what I feel like Jack Ma's getting at. Yeah. Is this idea of like, go work for someone else. And if you can possibly work for someone else, work for someone who you really, really look up to, so you can get stoked on it every day. Right. So that point alone is awesome, because I think just your situation is so unique in the sense that you were able to have so much success in the first 5-6 years of that business, and then able to recognize that you really didn't want to do it as much anymore. And you also wanted to do something where you weren't in that same position. You didn't like pivot to start a new company. You just pivoted to work underneath a company that you really cared about. So I think you made a great move. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough decision, but you know, like I said, I want to challenge myself, and so to pick up and start something new, it was good for me.
Right. So do you feel like you enjoy you're cool with like the heat? Like how cool is it? I feel like for us when we moved from Minnesota, it was like kind of the coolest thing ever to like be in January and it was like warm out.
I will admit, like every single day still kind of feels like a vacation while I'm here.
A little bit.
Yeah, especially on the weekends.
A little bit.
Like being able to like swim in the pool like year round, like there's definitely some upside to it.
You also live at a resort, you know that, right? You live at a fucking resort.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. So we had like 12
a little bit closer.
We had 12 showings. We had 12
My
showings.
Guy.
We had 12 showings for like all these different apartments when we wanted to move out here to tour.
You went to 12? Oh, no. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And me and Courtney were celebrating. We saw one. And we were celebrating actually downstairs where we're at right now, Culinary Dropout, right down there. And we ended up taking like 10 shots of tequila.
Nice.
And that's actually when I FaceTimed you and I said, I'm moving down here.
That's
yeah.
right. Yes.
We were talking about something.
Yes.
And I bounced back the next morning, but Courtney unfortunately did not. And so we had all these showings, and it was our one day to go and see all the different places we wanted to live at.
You had all 12 booked in a day?
Yeah, we were just going to like hop around and just like, okay, we'll figure it out at the end of the day. And Courtney wasn't feeling too hot. And we were just like, all right, well, let's just go with option one. We like that one. And so here we are.
Relax.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, dude.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just cool. I think it's so worthy and necessary to move out of a place where you feel really comfortable.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Did you grow up in Minnesota?
Yeah, I grew up in Minnesota.
Okay.
I grew up in Rogers, and then it's like 35-40 minutes of the suburbs. But then when I was in Mankato for 5 or 6 years, and we built a really good community down there. And then I actually moved up into Minneapolis with Ian, and we were in Minneapolis, St. Paul for about 2 years. And that's when things really started to take off, because we kind of left the small town Mankato college town, moved up to Minneapolis, started being closer with you guys and some of the other people that we worked with in Minneapolis. And then
enter Lincoln Drink and other things like that.
Dude, Lincoln Drink. I mean, if there's one thing that I really miss, it's Lincoln Drink.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just... Yeah, dude, it was good energy. A lot of good people pulled through, and it was fun to like rally around. I mean, you know how it is with Boatchella, or I mean, the party that got canceled by Coachella.
The boat party that got a cease and desist from
that's
Coachella.
What it is. That's the tag.
Formally.
Yeah, formally. It was really cool to, you know, aside from the agency, to have my same team who was working at the agency kind of rally around this like one event. And like, event businesses are fun. I mean, they're extremely stressful. I know how you feel, but they were fun, dude, because it's like a delayed gratification, but then like that gratification hits hard on the day of the event. And it's like you see all those people there, everyone's smiling, having a good time. And yeah, I do miss Lincoln Drink.
Yeah. Well, we can bring it back.
Let's do it.
Don't worry.
Let's do it.
We can definitely bring it back. We've had conversations on this.
We did.
And you know, we'll talk logistics and whatnot later, but Andrew and our mindset was when you reached out to us about like trying to rectify it. Our mindset was like absolutely, because Lincoln Drink was so fun. Like literally, that was like the one place in town where Andrew and I could show up and like, I mean, again, this kind of goes back to your ego conversation, but it was the one place in town where we could show up and like everyone knew who you were.
100%.
It was like kind of cool.
It's nice to dabble into those kind of.
Everyone was like, "Oh, Backpocket, blah blah." So that was sick. But like you already touched on the idea of just like this really cool communal networking event, which like most of the time when you say networking event, you want to throw up.
100%.
The only way you're throwing up a Lincoln Drink was if you drank too much.
Right.
Honestly,
no, it was wild, bro.
Yeah, and what's really cool is with this date night podcast and how we live streamed it on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
but didn't broadcast it at the bar like Lincoln Drink did with the panel system.
Yep.
I think there could be something there. I think if you had some sort of live event, but just like Twitch streamed it.
I agree.
And then if people wanted to tune in, they have their AirPods in their phone.
Yeah.
And if they didn't and just wanted to get drunk and talk to people like they all do, like then they could do that.
100%.
And so that was what we were talking about with Joe Colsey on 317 actually, which was super funny.
About Lincoln Drink?
Lincoln Drink. If you go back and listen to that, I'll send you like the show note of when we talk about it, but I think we legitimately spent 20 minutes like brainstorming like how we would throw Lincoln Drink at some point.
That's so funny. I'd love to see it happen, bro.
Yeah.
I'd love to see
we just got to get through Bochella.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll call it Bochella, whatever. Yeah, we got to just, it's in 2 weeks. We just got to hammer that, execute it, and then we will move on to Lincoln Drink, Date Night Podcast, and the other events we got the rest of the year. But
you're stacked, dude.
We were very stacked, but yeah. So sorry I interrupted. That was a Lincoln Drink tangent, but you basically moved into Minneapolis, and then the network expanded and accelerated.
Yeah, we got a lot of momentum behind us. I mean, we started working with some really cool clients in Minneapolis. We started growing, and there's always those hiccups within growth. And yeah, that's ultimately like, I think we were in Minneapolis, St. Paul we had our Minneapolis office for just about a year before I closed it down. So.
Right on. No, that's super cool.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's what's funny about creating a network is it just takes like genuine intention and it takes time.
100%.
Like I was out.
Nothing else either. It's like just those two things.
Yeah. Just like go be a human and hang out with the people you want to, and then things will kind of happen. And for me personally, I was like, after the first 6 months for myself, sitting in December of 2020, factoring COVID and a bunch of things, but I was just like kind of looking at what I was doing from a week-to-week standpoint, and I was like, I'm not doing. I had just actually moved to the Phoenix area, to the RV at the very end of the year, in November, and I was just kind of sitting alone out there, probably a little stoned, and I got stoned like almost every day when I was out there by myself.
I don't know what else you were doing.
People ask me if like that's the only thing I do out there is smoke weed and hang out in the RV. And it's kind of true. It was true. I guess I don't do it as much anymore, but. I was sitting out there and I was just like, dang, like what's my network right now? Like I don't got a network. It's a weird thing to think about, but I was just like, there's not much, like I'm not taking as much initiative as I once was. And I think a lot of it was just because I was moving around so much time, and I was working 70 hours a week. Like my construction job for the first time ever was like consuming my life, and I fucking hated it. Like I worked 31 days straight. I worked an entire month without a day off.
Why?
I had that was just the requirement that was instilled on me.
Wow.
It was brutal.
Wow.
Worked every day. Now, granted that some of those days were like show up to work, make sure everything's in place, and then go play golf.
But still.
But like you're still like showing up at 6 a.m. to do the thing. Like it was like constant.
I've got a lot of respect for you, but that just gained another 3% of respect.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
It's a big 3%.
It's a big 3%.
That's 3 days.
That's 3%. Yeah.
Thank you though. I appreciate it. But like I was just like, I gave myself a little bit of an excuse. Like, okay, you were busy, you were moving around, it was COVID, blah, blah, blah. But going forward, now that we have addressed the situation of no network, like we need to do something in 2021 that's going to make a difference. And started going back to comedy in the Phoenix area and started meeting some comics there. Picked up a girlfriend all of a sudden.
Your sweet girlfriend.
My sweet girlfriend. God damn it, she's awesome. Christina. Had her on the podcast. She just rocks.
Yeah, she's great.
Very similar to Courtney in terms of the sweetness.
Yep.
And just a cool person. And so she shacks up in the RV, but it's just been cool to see how, like, I don't think I've really gained. I haven't. If you wanted to quantify in terms of like people in my network, I don't think I've gained a bunch of people in my network in the Phoenix area, but I've certainly felt like I've done something more than I have before, and it's all based on relationship.
Well, there's something to say about when you talk about network. There's two things that I look at. There's how many people are you connected to, but then there's a second layer. It's like, how deep are you connected to them? And so I think when you moved out here, me and you became closer.
Right.
Me, you, and Ian became closer.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, like you said, just moving out of your hometown, you start to like really realize like who you can connect with and who you can rely on. So I think it took it like past a few degrees of, how deep are you connected to these people?
Right. So then, like, for you, when you moved out here and you briefly touched on like your maybe your first couple months in the Ikonick system as an employee rather than like an owner or a CEO or whatever.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, how are you able to like immerse yourself? When did you start feeling like comfortable in the situation?
I mean, I've done a lot. I haven't seen as much as they have, but backing up a few steps.
How could you, dude? You're only 25. They're 31 and 36. Mark's old as shit. He's like 36, right?
He's like 34.
Okay.
Jeff's 31.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it was tough. There was definitely a learning curve. They run a really big business that's moving really fast, and they have a lot of different facets that you can tap into. But I just look at every opportunity where it's like, I'm going to give it my best shot, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. And, there's going to be learning lessons along the way. But when I went on, they kind of let me know, like, you're kind of like the third guy, Mark is very business, Jeff's very creative. So like similar conversation that I was talking about that I was struggling of like finding that fine line. So the role that I'm in now, it's like, I find a good touch of like being able to tap into the creative, but I'm also very intertwined with like operations and the business side.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
What a perfect situation.
Yeah. So like it kind of worked out.
Damn. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I jumped over, because I kind of saw that opportunity opening up, and they were asking for a lot and willing to give a lot for me to make that jump. And so,
cool.
I mean, just as much as I invested into them by shutting my business down and moving out here, they invested a lot into me. And yeah, man, it's been a lot. I'm definitely a lot smarter than I was 6 months ago.
Well, that's
what I wanted.
That's what you wanted. And that's like also kind of the idea of like what it's like working under someone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to learn something different when you're in a different environment entirely.
Yeah. And like, we're still a smaller company. So like, I mean, when we're positioning bigger business deals, like Mark's pulling me aside and like really explaining it so that I can get some more insight on it.
God, that's gotta be so cool.
Yeah.
Cause like Mark is like, to me, I mean, I've only met Mark twice.
Yeah. That's all you need.
But he is so like gung ho. Like his energy is so like dialed.
Great energy.
And he is so willing to help. Like if you're in his, I would say like if you're in his circle, or if he like cares and is invested in you, like you feel that investment. So like, I can imagine these kind of situations where he's pulling you aside and like how impactful that could possibly be.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like even just a situation like doing the loop in with you in the No Excuses campaign.
The No Excuses campaign. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That shit was nuts.
So how that all started was, I mean, do you want to flip these one more time?
Yeah, let's go ahead and flip them.
And then we'll jump into the RV.
Yeah, great call.
I'm gonna open up a beer. I'm gonna open up the third beer for you too.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, man. Wow.
So how the whole RV campaign happened is
right. Well, hold on. Let's contextualize first. So like for the people who are listening who have no idea what the hell we're talking about.
Okay. Well, I think the way that I'll tell the story will contextualize.
Perfect. Sorry.
So, we were sitting at the table one day, and I brought up to Ian. I think you guys posted something. Something happened where the Neckland photo popped into my mind. And I'm like, Jeff, you're a Photoshop wizard. I'm going to show you something that looks Photoshop, but it's not Photoshopped. And I was like, I got my homie, Declan. He actually lives in Arizona. He actually lives in an RV in Arizona. And he's got this crazy photo that makes his neck look massive. And Jeff is still convinced to this day that photo is Photoshopped. He's still convinced. But anyways, the minute that he saw that photo, he's like, okay, this guy's interesting. We should create a character around him. And we were talking about our next upcoming campaign, and we were just like, okay, well, let's try something with this guy, Declan. And what's funny is if you go, so to give you guys context, we did a campaign with Declan, and he was our mystery customer for 4th of July. And we obviously sell home decor, and Declan's home is an RV. And so we did a whole like parody campaign where he bought all these canvases, but he had nowhere to hang them. And we spun the campaign off as no walls, no excuses. And when we do these parody campaigns, they're usually over exaggerated. It's a crazy storyline. But the best part about working with Declan is we didn't have to curate anything. It was already his life. This man, he's got a beautiful mullet, has some speed shades just on deck in every color. And he lives in an RV.
Yeah, it came with the props
for
the most part.
Like literally, we just like, I started telling Jeff more and more about your life. And he's like, this is the perfect campaign.
That's so funny. It's so ridiculous.
And so, yeah, I mean, we just kind of pieced the whole thing together, and, you know, we drove out to you and we dropped the whole campaign. If you want to go check it out, it's on @Ikonick on Instagram. But yeah, man, it was great to, it felt really full circle for me. That's how I know I made the right decision, is like, I was able to work with my friends, make it fun. We had a really successful campaign.
Good.
And it was fun, dude. Like, we drove out to you. I was still mind blown, like how far you actually live away from the house.
So far.
We pulled up in the U-Haul.
Legitimately an hour and a half from the Ikonick house.
And I'm driving this U-Haul with all this art, and we're like filming, and it was just such a genuine reaction. We're like, holy shit, is he really all the way out here? This place looks like a movie set. I mean, there's all this old Western, like, props, basically, and it's got like this wooden archway with this little sign on it. Like, it is just like the most perfect setting for this campaign. And, I mean, you were obviously great to work with, and I think we had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, we just rolled it out. But it felt good to like work with you, and like Ian was a part of the team, and to just create the messaging and storyline around it was fun, man.
Yeah. I mean, to touch on, I'll get deeper with it eventually, but like to touch on the, just the actual shooting day itself and like how that all came together. I mean, I just remember you texting me like, hey, dude, can we do a shoot at your place? And I'm like, never in a million years would I have moved into a place where it's the least attractive place to shoot anything. And then now you're texting me, the one person that I know here that shoots things is like, can we shoot at your RV? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, next question.
Yeah.
But like, dude, it was so hot that day.
Bro.
It was so hot. And
I was so miserable, just like sweating, like checking off the shot list, and like
we're like sprinting to different BTS shots
because we only had a certain amount of time.
Because
we flew Jake in, and Jake had like 4 hours to shoot before he had to go back to the airport, and so we're just trying to hit all the shot list, and yeah, man, it was.
And we have I mean, I live obviously in an RV, and I rent the space where I hook my RV up to my good buddy Doyle.
Oh, Doyle.
And he's he's a cowboy first and foremost.
Yeah.
He's a professional bull rider for the majority of his life. He left his house when he was 18 in Arkansas and didn't stop bull riding until he ruptured his spleen when he was 40.
Now he's just ripping Bud Lights.
Now all he drinks is Bud Light, doesn't drink water. And him and my girlfriend, Christina, were watching the entire director's set go down.
And Christina was coming in and taking some like BTS Polaroids. I gotta see those, by the way.
Yeah,
those
she only took one, and it's like actually no, there's two of them. One of them's really good, but
okay.
No, you guys are it's whatever. But nonetheless, she was taking BTS Polaroids, and it was hot as shit. And Doyle is back there drinking Bud Light with Christina, watching this all go down.
And we're like hauling these massive canvases.
And
if you've never seen the art before, and like we have like a bunch of them, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Shocked.
Yeah.
By the way, Doyle got a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
He got the travel
passport
photo in trading. He traded Jeff a beer for it, a Bud Light, obviously. He told me he put that piece of art in his extra safe storage facility.
Are you serious?
And he's gonna hang it up in his new house when it gets built.
Love it.
He was like, I took it right there.
Love it.
But another great part was the first scene is a drone shot of the U-Haul coming in to the place where I live, where the RV's parked, and it's pretty cool. You know, the first shot is obviously from behind the U-Haul, and it kind of gets the perspective of the U-Haul coming in, but the shot from behind is like me jumping way too close to the edge of the RV.
We watched
looking back at that.
We watched that in slow-mo. We're like, oh my God.
What a ballsy move.
That could have been such a liability.
That could have been a terrible
And what's funny, dude, is I got to give a shout out to my buddy Jake Ebel. He owns a company called Shutter Bombs, and it's those smoke bombs.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, man, like I bought this company. I'm starting to run this e-com brand. And he sent me like 20 smoke bombs. And he's like, yo, like, just use them if you want them. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with smoke bombs? 2 months later, this opportunity rolls up, and I was like, guys, I've got the perfect prop. We've got 20 smoke bombs. So then when we got Declan on top of the RV, we had him pull a blue and a red one, and he's just kind of waving them down like he's flagging us. And you got to go watch the campaign. It's funny. It's hysterical.
So anyways, we decided right when we got there, you know, like, okay, what's the hardest shot to get? Obviously the drone shot. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Like, it's the first shot. It's most important. It's kind of the most legendary shot of the whole thing, if we're being honest. Yeah. Jake did a great job in post on it. But anyways, it's literally 2 shots. So we have 4 total smoke bombs, 2 red, 2 blue.
Yeah.
You know, we make sure this thing fucking works, right? So the first time we do it, great. Second time we do it, Jake's coming from behind me, and so he has to fly into the neighbor's yard and then come back around and then kind of come over my head as for the shot. And we find this out later, like an hour into the shoot, but
still on the shoot,
still shooting. Doyle pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey, just so you know, the neighbor called and he said, I'll fucking shoot that drone down if it flies over one more time. You know me, Doyle, I'll do it." So like literally, the drone was about to be shot down, and
honestly, that probably would have made the campaign better if it's just like mid flag down and just gets shot out and like blacks out.
Can you imagine if just your drone gets sniped out of the air? I mean, like,
honestly, I wouldn't have been that mad.
It would have been kind of cool.
I don't even really fly it.
What a marksman!
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it would have been a great shot.
I mean, R.I.P. to Jake's drone potentially.
It's my drone.
Your drone.
It was my drone.
I mean, what that would have been terrible.
It would have been all right.
But yeah, overall that shoot, I mean, that was my first ever like act in front of camera type thing. Yeah. And you know, I had some slip ups here and there, but I think for the most part, like, I felt pretty comfortable on camera. Yeah. I also felt like the moments so you guys had sent me the script, by the way, which was great. Yep. Jeff sent me the script. I go the night before, and even the night before that too, because I had 2 nights to prepare. I was just like sitting in my RV, just writing jokes for every single shot in my joke book.
I love it.
I feel like this is the only way I really would know how to like conjure something up. Ended up working great. It's just funny that I had like my joke book the whole time as I was like saying different lines and whatnot. But dude, that was just so fun. Like, what an opportunity. I just never thought that was something like that was possible. Yeah. And then we pulled it off, and I'm glad the campaign went well.
Yeah, it went great.
And hopefully there's more to come.
There will be more to come.
That's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, now to get deeper with it, like, the coolest part about that, and you mentioned like Ian was there meeting Jeff for the first time, Jake, the content guy from California, he was killer, Jake Dom. But the coolest part was just like, dude, I've known these guys for 3 years. Mm-hmm. They've both come on my podcast, our podcast multiple times, where we've just chopped it up and had a good time. We've helped you throw Lincoln Drink. You've helped us with multiple Lincoln Drinks. You've helped us with Bocella, multiple Bocellas. And we literally became friends because of recording podcasts together and being in the same city. Yeah. And then for like us to, obviously create a genuine relationship and just a good friendship overall. And then for you to come out to Arizona and then just like give me the coolest opportunity of all time. Like that, what a full circle moment.
Right. I mean, everything happens for a reason, bro. And the minute that like Ikonick was starting to like, okay, maybe we could do something with this. I mean, I wanted to really make it happen and make it something special. And like you said, I mean, we've helped you, you've helped us, and I think there shouldn't be a reason that stops.
Right. And I just think it's so cool. Like, and I just want to say thank you again. Like,
Of course, bro. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's honestly the coolest thing that it all kind of happened and it culminated and had success, and it's probably going to happen again. But I think I mean I texted you this and you texted me back. You're like, dude, there's nothing cooler. There's nothing cooler than winning with your friends.
100%. It's like, I mean, we've all seen like the motivational pages where it's like the guy standing at the top and he's by himself, and it's like, to me, that doesn't seem fun, bro. I'd rather be at the top of my friends, and everyone's got their own measurement of like what the top looks like, but doing it with your friends, you can look around and it's like you know that those people are genuine, right? You know, a lot of people make these moves where they just jump, and they're very like selfish with their moves, and to each their own. But for me, I want to be looking around when we're all at the top, and it's like, damn, bro, you know, we really did this from the bottom. We started here, we went there, and now we're here, you know?
Right. And I think it's just, you know, everyone has their own path, right? Everyone's got their own hero's journey to some degree, but I think it's just cool that like when your friends can nudge you in the right direction or give you some sort of opportunity that you never would have had before, that puts you on a different trajectory to help you get somewhere that you never would have thought. Yeah. Like, you know how cool it was to feel like I was like legitimately doing comedy and legitimately feeling like I was on a set.
It was your pre-Netflix special.
It felt like it. I mean, like legitimately I was like, wow, this could easily, like I feel just as much fulfillment from like writing the jokes, executing, and then like watching the product come to life. Like I was like, I get just as much fulfillment, if not more, in a different sense than I would going up on stage and talking in front of people. I love that. And I was like, I would have never had that opportunity had it been for Brandon, and had it even been, if you wanted to scale it back before, had it never even like started the podcast, or had it never even showed up to a random event in Rochester in 2018 to go see Gary Vee.
Shout out Nick Zeppa, bro.
Right? Isn't that just like Zach. That in itself is a nuts scenario, and it's fun to trace those steps back.
Did you know at that event, that was the last day that Ian was living in Minnesota, and he actually moved out to Portland.
That was the day before he moved to Portland. Interesting.
So I had just worked with Gary on the Super Bowl, and then 2 weeks later, the Rochester Get Me Gary Vee event happened, and I texted Nick. I actually messaged him on Facebook because he was big on Facebook, and I think it was Blake.
He is big on Facebook.
Big Facebook guy. I think Blake Anderson from Visionary Manufacturing connected me with him. He's like, hey, like this guy's filming Gary Vee. He asked me if I know anyone that can film something, and I shot him your name. And ended up talking to him, and I was like, yo, man, like I'll do all the video production. Like my company will do it all. And like we did it for like super cheap because it was another portfolio builder, and I was helping him. He was in deep with the event. And I was like, my only ask is I want all of my employees front row to see Gary Vee.
Nice. That's cool.
And so
what an ask.
Yeah. And then I was like, I also want a few filmer passes. So I brought Hui, I brought the Brodskis, and then it was myself all on stage filming Gary. And Nick's doing this podcast, and we're all in the back room. We're all kind of looking. No one said a single thing. It was really crazy, bro. I still remember this day like it was yesterday. And we're all looking at each other, and it was like Nick, Gary were talking. They were deep in this moment, and I was like looking at Brodsky, like Ben. I was looking at Hui, and I'm like, damn, this is cool. And then Gary went on stage, and like me and Hui were filming, and it was just like this epic shot. And then I looked down, and I see all of like my good friends and the people that worked with me just front row, dead center. And it was cool because I held up my end of the bargain. Nick held his end up at the bargain. And because of that, I met you guys, I met some other people, and it just really exploded from there. But it was just such a cool moment. And that was actually when Ian was going to move out to Portland. So he's like, after the event, he's like, dude, that was so sick. Had such a good time. Like, I'll catch you guys when I catch you guys. And he was still going to work for us. He was going to work remote, and he was going to work in Portland. He went out there for like about a month and had a change of mind. And he called me. Yeah. He called me, and he's just like, look, man, like I moved out to Portland, and I think it's the wrong decision. And I'm not moving back solely because of Butterfly, but like there's a good portion of, I just feel like I'm missing out on this opportunity. And he moved back, and we really started kickstarting stuff with Butterfly. But if you look back at my videos, like how energized I was about Butterfly, it was like, there was just all these like crazy moments happening where it was like, dude, there's so many people believing behind this idea, behind this company, that are like moving back and like willing to work their first job out of college, where most people would go get a salary way higher than what I was able to afford. And they're willing to take that cut to like be a part of the vision.
Yeah.
And that was also a big reason why it was tough to shut it down, because it was like so many people believed in me, but I felt like I couldn't take it to the next level fast enough to give people what they deserved. And ultimately that's what I made my decision on.
Right. Dude, again, just like that moment of you looking down the line of like all your friends, or like in that back room.
I got to go back and
Gary
find that
Vee.
clip, dude. It's insane.
It's the coolest thing, like winning with your friends.
Yeah.
It's so funny, like you mentioned all those people, and like had you mentioned those names to me when I was at the event, and my story to the event, I'll tell that in a sec, but like I didn't know any of those people before that. Not even you.
I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry. I don't remember meeting you there.
I don't think we met there. I just saw that you were the production behind it, and then asked you to come on the podcast. And we actually met at our front door.
Yeah, that was the first time I actually met you.
The first time we met was actually
But I think
we
were like talking on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wild. So we never actually met at the event, but we had met on the podcast, which I think is even cooler.
Yeah,
100%. So I stayed up for 24 hours that same day I went to the Gary Vee event, because I'd work at like 4 a.m. that day, left work at like 4 or 5 p.m., went to go to the event. Giselle Ugardi got me a ticket to go because she was opening for Gary Vee.
Got it.
And I just went in not knowing where the tickets and how they were spaced out. So I just like kind of walked my way to the very front and sat down.
I mean,
so
why else would you do anything
literally
different?
by myself. Drove out to Rochester. I was like, oh, it's
not even Andrew?
It was Andrew didn't come because I think he was in Hilton Head or something with his family. You know, it wasn't even went by myself, drove out, thought Rochester was like 20 minutes away. It was like an hour. And I was like, okay,
it's
so
far, bro.
I'm going to be late to the event right on by myself. Don't know where I'm going to sleep. I was like, I'm just going to sleep in my car. Hopefully that'll work out. So show up, meander in, and Giselle's like halfway through her talk, pretty much wrapping up. And like everyone's like sitting watching, and like no one was going to like stop me from going and trying to find my seat. So I was like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to sit, whatever. And walked basically all the way to the front, sit down, had the time of my life watching, Gary, and then
Theo.
He had Theo Von. And I'm like, I had just found Theo Von, and I hadn't even started comedy yet. And after I saw Theo Von.
Is that what sparked it?
Yes. And after I saw Theo Von, I was like, I have to go do comedy. Like
he had a great show.
He had a great set.
Yeah, that was funny, dude.
It's insane like how that all kind of culminated. But I think what it really comes down to when you fast forward through the entire thing, and like the reason we're able to even talk about any of this type of stuff is because we act with good intention, and we're hustlers. Like
100%.
we just work hard. We work hard towards the thing that we like. I'm not going to try and make it a grandiose thing of what it actually is. We work hard towards the things we like, and like that just brings so much fulfillment when you put yourself in the right situations.
100%.
Simply.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say looking back on it, that day was pretty pivotal.
Yeah. Take Social Butterfly out of it if you want. Take Backpocket out of it if you want. Just the fact that you were in that situation with a bunch of your friends because of some other things that you're doing behind the scenes to basically energize you to get to that point. Like that it's hard to get to that point, right?
100%.
But it's also just like so cool that it happened. And I think that's like the coolest part. I mean, we'll look back at this RV shoot, I'm sure at some point, just be like, dude, can you remember? It was like me, you, Jeff, Ian. Like,
I hope so.
It's just, it's cool to continue to do that. You know? And that was the kind of thing I touched on with like this whole network thing. It's like your network, call it what you want, quantify what you want. If you can just have some sort of these experiences because of the good intention you put into the world, there's nothing better.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And, I mean, I'm sure it's crazy for you because you've had 400 plus episodes and you've seen all these
300. We're not at 400.
You're not at 300 yet?
No, we're not at 400.
But you are at 300.
But we are at 300. We're in between 300.
Hundreds of podcasts. You've interviewed hundreds of people. To see them, just even transform over the last few years. I mean, I got a good sight of that just through, owning a business. Like even like Spencer Sufflo.
Yeah.
The dude's crushing it. He texted me the other day, and I won't disclose too much, but he's just like, look, man, like I wanted to let you know, I'm not bragging by any means, but I know like we both know where we both came from, and I just got done with a 6-figure set.
Cool.
And that's like,
nice.
It gives me goosebumps, and it's like, dude, I'm just so happy for you. You know,
Yeah.
like it's so cool to see where you came from. And dude, I met Spencer. I had, you know, in like maybe St. Thomas. You went to St. Thomas, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if St. Thomas had this, but Mankato had these like tabling sessions where vendors could table and like basically like advertise or sell to people in the student union where all the people were. So there's a lot of like housing. There was a lot of like companies looking to hire and all these things.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like $200 to rent a table for the day or something, maybe even like $100. And so I rented one, and I just brought a monitor, and I printed out Social Butterfly on a piece of paper, and I taped it to the table, and I just played videos that we made. And I was like, there's no one in Mankato that makes videos. And I was like, I'm the only one, whatever. And this kid walks around. He's like, yo, do you make videos? Did you guys make these? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I make videos. I was like, sweet, man. Send me your portfolio. Long and behold, it's a legendary Spencer Suffalo.
Damn.
And
That's
we ended
insane.
up working together, and we worked together for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And then he ended up doing his own thing, which I highly respect. But it's just so crazy to see how people transform and like the way they spin things off. And I just love it, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're all so young, so like obviously these things are developing.
I know we're like talking like, oh man, like dude,
we're
it's so
old.
cool, and it's like, no, I'll tell
happen.
you one thing: a lot of shit happens in a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of shit happens in a few years,
and that's why it's fun to reflect, but it's also like fun to just kind of sit in it and like be present with it, because there's really nothing better. I mean, like, who's to say what's gonna happen now? Not really gonna talk about it. Not really gonna try and conjure it. Just gonna keep attacking the day every single day.
Yeah, and it's important. I was having a conversation with Mark about this the other day. It's really important when you feel like you're under the water or like you're having a bad day, like just look back at like everything you've accomplished, you know, whether how small or big, but it's so good to look back and reflect. Cause I think especially now on social media, like people are scrolling and comparing themselves and just like seeing what everyone else is doing, but to sit back and look at your own flowers, like there's a lot of power into that.
Yeah. Like when I was going through before like the Ikonick deal launched, like Mark was like, hey dude, like I gotta be honest, you gotta like clean up your fucking profile, because like I don't think anyone wants to see like,
well, we have 500,000 followers, so
right.
It was like,
no, like it was just like good genuine traffic, and like obviously hindsight, and I'll have this conversation with Mark at some point, but I'm just like, you know what? Had I just boiled it down to like one post, it would have just like
I think you would have gained a lot more
followers. It would have worked way more, because the curiosity just would have been there.
100%.
And it's just like
we didn't want to be too overpowering. We didn't want to like
I didn't understand. Look, I'm stubborn.
Yeah,
and I didn't really understand the idea behind it. I was like, why would I just get rid of everything that I've done?
Did you delete them or archive them?
I archived everything, and I brought it all back eventually. But like, and again, it was more of just like a mechanism thing too. I was like, really? I gotta spend like all this fucking time to do this? Like,
dude, I think if you would have archived them all,
if I archived every single one except for like one post,
the yearbook one, the yearbook one,
dude,
that one was so funny.
The one with my friends dating my sister.
Yeah, and it's like driving into your character. It just would have been. And here's the thing: if you would have archived every single one of them except for like 1 or 2 photos, and then you brought them back, no one would have known.
No one would have known. So annoying.
It's all right.
So annoying. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
I just wanted to vocalize that, because like I knew, I was like, God damn it, you know, they're right, and it's obvious that, I mean, it's easy to see that now for myself, but when I was going through the situation, I was like looking at my fucking feed as like an ego complex. I was like, what is this? But to your point, what I was bringing that up is just because it was fun to look back. I was like, wow, I've done a lot. It's kind of cool. Whatever. Archive.
Well, you brought him back.
We brought him back. But who's to say that I couldn't have another opportunity? Hopefully I do, to maybe get one. Capitalize.
You'll get one.
All right. One more producer break.
All
right, we're back, dude.
We're back.
We
didn't even leave, but we're back.
We didn't even leave, but we're back. We're actually just sitting in the same spot. Anyways, if you're in it, and again, if you are someone who wants to produce podcasts or wants to learn how to produce podcasts, we could use your skills very heavily.
Yeah, then we wouldn't have to have the timer. Oh,
yeah.
You know what I did? I closed my phone.
Don't worry about it, dude. It's no big deal.
Oh, we're still running. Reset.
Good man. Yeah, I learned my lesson. Put it that way.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
We'll figure it out. But no, you're right, dude. It's cool to you gotta expand perspectives. And I think looking back and just reminding yourself every once in a while that you do cool shit is like a good way to just make sure that you continue to keep moving.
Yeah, 100%.
If it's, I hate to put it that simply, but because dude, I mean, when you the craziest part for me personally is like how I'm just such a I'm a go-getter. I just keep pushing forward into avenues that I really like to do. And so I get overwhelmed like very easily, and then I need to work on like making sure I hire enough people to like make sure I can just keep doing my own thing.
Yep.
And it's just funny to like have to try and balance that all of a sudden. And you run into like new problems all the time. And I think it goes back to this idea of the pivot, where it's like your pivots are always trying to solve the same problem over and over again. How can I maximize like the happiness and like the lane of what I think would be success? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh man, I'm overwhelmed, never doing that again?
That's actually the reason why we had this conversation. I had this conversation with Mark where he was telling me like, dude, look back on your own flowers. And that's why he sent me that first DM that I ever sent him. He's like, bro, that was 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now look at where you're at. You know, you're way high up in Ikonick, and you're doing all these crazy things where it's like, I can articulate, how do I say this? I think about this all the time, but I don't always act on it. And what I think about all the time is, if you're not having problems, you're not growing. If everything's all good and everything's all kosher, I mean, we all have goals, right? And if you're not growing, or if you're not having problems, then you're not growing. Mm-hmm. And so if everything's just all good, then like you're kind of complacent, right?
If you're not failing, you're not learning.
Right. I mean, fail fast, fail early, and fail often. Mm-hmm. That was one of the pieces that I bought from Ikonick that I hung right above my door or right above my desk. And it's so easy to say these things, right? It's so easy to say these like motivational quotes, but to imply them into your like and instill them into your everyday life is very hard, especially when you feel overwhelmed, right? But I mean, it's true. Like you should look at every opportunity like, okay, obviously you want to do a good job, but like the faster you fail, the faster you're going to learn how to not do it, and you're going to get closer to how to do it. Right?
Totally.
But even just like when you feel overwhelmed, it's like, take a deep breath, work one step at a time, and figure it out.
Right. It's so a good point on that is like when I think of why Ikonick is so great in terms of like the branding and like just the canvas art is beautiful in itself, but the reason it's so effective is only if you're able to take the deep breath and look up at your wall,
right,
and realize what's right in front of you, and then have that remind you to the intention as to why you bought it, which then reminds you as to like who you really are.
Well, you know, like when you see like a good quote and you like screenshot it.
Speaking of the mic.
Yeah, when you know when you see like a good quote and you screenshot it and you save it as your wallpaper because you want it to remind you every day.
Right.
When I'm at the Ikonick house, it's like I can look at my phone, I can look to the left, and I see that canvas, and I see that canvas, and there are all these reminders. Like, as long as you work hard and you're pushing as hard as you can, and you're trying to be a good person about it, like, you'll figure it out. Yeah. And there might be something that happens that feels bad in the short term, but in the long term, everything happens for a reason.
Totally. And by the way, I would love to talk to Jeff about this of like the creative process, because it was kind of cool being over. You should
have Jeff and Mark on the podcast.
It'd be fun to have those two on.
They would 100% do it.
Really?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Don't quote me on it.
I was gonna ask the challenge question, but I no longer need to, because I think it would just be cool having those guys.
They love you, bro.
Cool.
Mark loves you. Mark was willing to like risk it all with you, bro.
Dude? It goes back to the whole thing. I'll get to what I was gonna ask Jeff, but the meeting that I had with Jeff and Mark, and I don't need to get into like out on the patio, where I just like kind of showed up and they wanted to meet, and I think this was right before the 4th of July promo was
it
gonna launch.
It was like 2 or 3 days before.
Dude, I'd never been in a room where people were like legitimately just stoked about what I do ever. I was like,
they loved
really?
you, bro.
I was like, really? You guys think I'm funny? You guys think they were like asking me questions about like what I do and my creative process and where I want to go, and I'm just like, and they're like, understand, like we don't really have these types of meetings with people where we're just like wanting to invest in someone who we just genuinely think is like. He said pragmatic, and I had no idea what that meant. And I was like, what's pragmatic mean, Mark? He's like, realistic. And I was like, yeah, that is me. And I was like, thanks. I was like, yeah, I am very realistic. Like, but it was so cool to like have a meeting where it was no bullshit, just like, dude, we really like what you do, and we think you're genuinely funny, and we think we can do a lot with you. Mm-hmm. And then part of me had like a really hurtful anxiety moment because I was like, oh fuck, are they gonna like tell me to quit my job and join Ikonick forever and like drop everything and run type thing?
Yeah.
And then they were like, so like when do you want to shoot? Like what kind of works for your schedule? Like we want to kind of roll this out based on your schedule so we can make sure this works. And I was like, yes, like we did it. Like there it is. Like now I was like, as long as I have opportunities and as long as I'm like making sure I'm putting out the content and the things that you guys want, then let's go to Mars type thing. And that was the coolest thing ever. Like, so again, back to just you even putting me on like this. Thank you. Like coolest thing that's probably ever happened in my existence in Phoenix. Like,
I'm glad you put the in Phoenix. I was like, there's probably plenty of good things that happened to you. But
tons of great things that have happened in my life. But like,
let's put it this way, bro. If you're around good people, which Mark and Jeff are just great people, if you just start talking about the people that you know, I mean, and like you said, you work hard at what you do and you take life serious and not too serious at sometimes. But
I'm pragmatic.
You're very pragmatic about your life. And I didn't do much other than just like talk about you. I was like, I got a good homie that lives in Arizona and he'd be down to shoot, I'm sure. And he's a funny guy. And here's his storyline. I just laid it out to him. And it was like I just kept hitting him with all these bullet points of like things about you, and it just kept getting better and better and better. And they just started. At one point they thought I was just like straight lying. They're like, "There's no way," and I'm like, "This man is just a movie character."
Sure. No, and it's funny because like it does seem a little bit movie character.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
bro, when you write it out in writing, and I don't like if you just like put on a doc, your situation. Just in Arizona, let's not even talk about everything else.
Sure.
Just in Arizona, and I legitimately did think you owned part of an Applebee's, and I was a little confused by that. So like, that was part of the situation. I was like,
and he owns an Applebee's.
That's literally how I said. I was like, and he owns an Applebee's. I was actually gonna ask you that on the set. I was like, what's the logistics look like on that? Are you getting like quarterly earnings, or what's that looking?
Passive income, my friend.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, I just like started hitting with these bullet points, and they're just like, this guy's amazing. Like, when can he come in? Would he be down to have a meeting with us? And I mean, you're a cool guy, so I was like, yeah, you down to have a meeting with these guys? And you just pulled up, and we had the conversation. So
yeah, no, it's it's funny how it all kind of unfolds. But I mean, I'm not trying to like sell anything. Like, this is how I live.
It was
my
very
life,
genuine, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. But dude, yeah, I am a pragmatic guy, and I am very realistic, and I am very like front facing. Like I show pretty much everything that I have. But it is funny that the one thing that kind of put that overflowed the system was that I own an Applebee's, and that's the single lie that I continue to put forth in my life. And like, literally, the only reason like I have it in there still consistently is because of how many people like. It's one of those lies you tell that like people aren't gonna call you out for that. Oh, dude, I saw you put Applebee's on your profile.
I was legitimately curious. I was like, how do I get into an Applebee's? Like, what was
how do I get into this franchise?
What was the capital like?
What's your initial investment, Declan? What's like how does it running in Applebee's?
Well, we were gonna do this whole quiz on Instagram with you, where it's like works out a power plant and then like having a lie, like because it's like
truth or lie.
Yeah. We were gonna do one of those, and then I found out you don't own part of an Applebee's,
and that kind of ruined it, huh?
No, it's all right. I mean, you still got some other funny.
I have some other, but I it's just cool. Like again, acting with genuine intention, just like living about your means, just making it happen. Like that's literally how I ended up in the RV in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm
gonna stop you there. I have mad respect for you, bro. I have mad respect that the fact you picked up And it was because you wanted a better job opportunity. I mean, you're still working with the same company, but COVID and George Floyd and everything was getting wild in Minnesota. And the fact you picked up, moved to Arizona, and not just moved to Arizona, but you moved in the middle of like, if you're flying over in an airplane, you see those like random like grids of land,
like the squares.
Yeah, the squares, like
literally
bro,
in the middle of the square.
You literally moved in the middle of all the squares, and just parked an RV. And I mean, I have mad respect for you to do that. And like, obviously, you found your sweet, sweet girlfriend, so now you have some company there and you're not all alone. But
not just smoking weed every day.
I was a little worried, bro.
Yeah,
I was a little worried that you were just going to be alone there. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to have to drive all the way out there to hang out with this guy so I don't feel bad that he's all alone. But
it was lonely. It was very lonely.
And now we're making it happen.
Exactly. Yeah. But, and again, I just want to reiterate, though, it's like you see like van life and you see like the people who purposely opt into van life and like fall out of it because it just doesn't work out because they lose money and it's tough. And that's the case. You lose money if you live van life. You don't have a lot of capital ahead and you go into van life.
You're only
just
spending,
not going to work. You're not, you spend more money that way.
Yeah.
If you move around in multiple places all the time.
Yeah.
So I give off that aura of like, oh yeah, dude, you know, I live in an RV now, you know, I'm a traveling comedian, you know, it was fun
hack.
to like, it was
the way you broke it down. It's a hack.
It was, but literally the situation that I found myself in is, hey, Declan, once I told them like, hey, please transfer me here. Like you guys have work. And I had a couple sources within the company to make it happen, you know, very simple conversation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, now that you're here, like, this is where you're going to work. And I'm like, okay, an hour away from, like, anything. And then, so I'm like, okay, so how am I supposed to, like, find a place to live? I could live in, like, the dumb apartments that are 45 minutes away that are still $1,200 to $1,400 a month.
Yeah.
Or I know this guy who, like, in that situation in itself was crazy. Like, how I found this guy who...
Doyle?
Was not Doyle, the guy who rented me the RV.
That's right.
Met him through an Airbnb. So if you're ever traveling and need to live, I would suggest picking the biggest house on the top of the hill and choosing the private room, because it's most likely someone
who owns other shit,
who owns a house, who lives in the house, and you get to be a roommate of a guy who's probably really rich for some reason.
Yeah. So
that's what I ended up doing, and I just brought up van life to this guy one day because I was biting the bait of like, oh, I want to live in a van. I think that'd be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I have a van, and it happens to be a 36-foot bunkhouse RV.
The 36 rig bunkhouse content rig.
The content rig, dude, and it's So again, pragmatic, dude. I'll use the word confidently now that I know what it means. Yeah. It's pragmatic. I lived about the means, and now I'm in this situation. So like, I don't want to get it. I always want to reinforce, like, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm not opting into this life for the aesthetic of it. I'm literally this is how I live my life.
It's optimized.
So again, it just the story continues to build, right?
Yep.
So okay, so what I wanted to ask, like, if in theory I were to get Jeff and Mark on the podcast either at the same time or individually, what would you recommend? Because I feel like they're very opposite people.
Very. If you get them both at the same time, Jeff won't talk as much.
Right. We all know that.
Yeah. But I don't know if Jeff has done a podcast by himself.
That's why I kind of want to do just like an interview with Jeff.
Jeff
not
is
because
they're both very interesting guys.
Right. Okay.
Very interesting guys.
That would be my intention. Is like Mark has a value set.
Dude,
it's great why they're co-founders first and foremost.
100%. But you should have them on the podcast, and I'll mention something to them. But they have a very interesting story. Very interesting story. I mean, they worked at the same company, and they were doing their separate things. They ended up working at the same company. They both decided they wanted to leave, and then they started Ikonick. They were both dead broke, and they saw that Jeff was really good at art, and he's really good at making art very fast, like almost like alien-like. Like he can just bang out something that would take someone like months, and he could just do it in an hour.
It was so cool, like having loose knowledge of like Photoshop and Illustrator from like my yearbook days in high school, and then just like watching him operate, like when I was at that meeting day, and I was just got to like be a fly on the wall kind of, and just to watch like Jeff operate, I was like, wow, dude, you are an alien.
Yeah, well, he just can make anything really, really fast. Like usually creative people don't move fast, but he can move really fast, and Mark broke down that. The two things that were being shared on the internet the most were memes and motivational quotes. So they did canvas art of both. Guess which one took off?
The motivational quotes.
Yes, sir.
No one wanted to hang memes on the wall?
I mean, I'm sure there's a few. There's always a market for something.
I wonder if that's a market still.
I'm sure.
Because I've always thought about making meme shirts, like t-shirts.
Yeah, there's a market for everything.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
You'll have to like get him on the pod and like really talk about it. Like,
yeah,
it is a wild story.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
That's sick.
And now they're like building this massive company together that's like wildly successful.
Which, yeah, by the way, like it's awesome that you get to work in it, and like again, being the fly on the wall for that like 6 or 7 hours that I was there. I don't know how long I was there for, but like just to watch you guys operate and even like carry out the campaign behind Decky West Coast, like I learned so much from that one day, like how you guys organized all your content and like that Google sheet, quite frankly.
What's up, dog?
How you guys put that together. I was like, I'm doing that. Like, I'm going to give that to my interns so 100%. That they can post the things that I need them to.
100%.
Like that. And I'm not saying I'm trying to steal your process or nothing.
Steal it,
but
bro.
Like,
steal it. That's what you should be doing.
I was like, that is genius. Yeah. I like that because it had like the Google Drive links and everything. I was like, that's exactly how we operate.
Yeah. It's just an easy visual to be like, okay, here's the schedule. Here's how we're rolling it out. Here's how we're like linking everything out. Here's the intention of everything. You can just get a macro view.
That's very micro, like very micro nitty gritty that I like just because I'm doing something very similar in terms of putting out content. But then like to see like even from the intention of like filming, right? And like what Jeff wanted to see and the script that he wrote out and even when we're on set, like the different things that he laughed at or liked or whatever the things we did, and we put it together, and then like them in the middle of the meeting, like, dude, this thing's going to blow up because we're building it this way. And then showed me like the posting schedule and how they were going to use each one. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so we put, a good, how much time in terms of like weeks would you say you put together for this? Like 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, dude, half a month for this one campaign. And then it sounds like it did well. But
it did great.
How cool, like that, to me, I was like, that's lean.
Yeah.
That's how you should run social campaigns.
Yeah.
It was very obvious to me. Like there is a good, well-oiled machine that's happening here.
There's a formula to it.
And I was very impressed. Like
great.
I thought it was so cool.
Love it.
Just thought it was so cool.
Love it, man.
So props to you guys. But I think one thing, just going back to what I would ask Jeff, or what just the basis of Ikonick and how they continue to keep moving forward, I should say. Like, it's got to be interesting, like trying to replicate some sort of message that might be cliche, but being creative about it. Like the way you guys hyped up the NBA legends, like now being like
I'll tell you something. Jeff made that entire NBA Legends collection that we just dropped today, July 9th, in 3 hours.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Dude, he is very good at like articulating, here's a quote that people resonate with. Here's an image that emphasizes this quote in a very, very subliminal, but like very direct way. And it's what's really interesting. I mean, so Jeff has made 99% of the SKUs. We have over 800 SKUs.
SKUs as in like artwork, canvas,
pieces of art. Yeah, pieces of art. Yeah. And it's really really interesting to see which ones sell the most.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, so like Pause If You Must has outperformed, and it's a cassette tape, and it says pause if you must, but don't stop.
Love that one.
And that one blew every other piece out of the water. For every other piece that we sold, we probably sold 20 of that.
Wow.
I mean,
20
like,
to 1.
Yeah, like everything was blowing it out of the water. And like before that, it was the dreams way more than excuses, the butterfly and the elephant, which is weird because the minute that one, they actually sent that one to me early and I was like, yo, this is so dope. And this was in the middle of butterfly. I had just moved to Minneapolis. They sent me the piece and I'm like, yo, like how ironic that this best-selling, and that piece just crushed. And it was like the best-selling piece of all time in custom company history was Dreams Way More Than Excuses. And it was a butterfly like outweighing an elephant.
An elephant, yeah.
And
that's cool.
I filmed some stuff with them and it just like took off. And yeah, man, it was just weird to see like which pieces take off and how he creates it and how he articulates it.
Yeah. So my question to Jeff would be directly based on that, is like performance versus what you want to create. Performance versus passion. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, okay. Probably disclosing some things on this podcast, so you guys get a little inside scoop. But
cool.
So if you go to @Cole on Instagram, his art is very culture focused, very like hip hop, NBA, a lot of engagement, very like realistic. And then like the Ikonick IP is, you'd be surprised, like our number 3 or 4 bestseller is an astronaut holding planets with no quote.
I love that one.
See, I don't know why. I don't know why.
It's just cool.
And that's America. I mean, it's crazy
that's
to think.
Consumerism.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird to just think like there's all these SKUs and there's like 10 that outperform everything by like a tenfold.
Right.
And
people like what they like, I guess.
They like what they like.
Yeah. What an interesting industry to be in, but it's like that's what
it's so
as
weird.
A creator to a certain degree, it's like, you know, that one post that goes viral on TikTok, you're like, really, that one?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, the one post that gets really good engagement, or however you want to look at it. You can measure it in the same instance.
Well, dude, we were creating like 6 ads a week, and then we'd test them, and then one would scale, and we'd throw like a lot of money at it, and it would get like Pause If You Must for like 4 weeks straight was getting 90% of our spend because people were just like eating that one up for whatever reason. But yeah, it's wild, dude.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty crazy too. Like people were like, so you had an agency where you could work with all these brands, and then you stopped the agency to work for a canvas company? I'm like,
to work with other brands.
Well, it's like if you actually understand like who Ikonick is and their brand identity and all the activations they're doing, like they're just really tapped into the influencer world and like all these like high level people. You really have to understand the brand to see why I took the jump.
It's just cool that, like, I mean, I got to obviously understand the core values of the company and, you know, maybe take a couple customer service calls. Whatever I need to do to get invested in the company, I will do. But no, it's one of those things where it's like, you're taking something that's been around forever and just literally breeding it with something that people can't get enough of.
Yeah.
And it's genius.
Yeah.
It's literally genius. I think it's so cool. We can talk all day about freaking Ikonick, honestly.
And it's wild too because most companies, so like say apparel, if you have an apparel company, you have to produce samples. Yeah.
Producer break. Sorry.
Producer break. No, you're good.
Okay, we're back. We'll get to our point here. But how long do you think 9% on a Sony A7 from 2015 has?
To be honest, say it could die at any point and just be done.
Right.
Because it's mid-recording.
Right.
I've had that happen. Or it could go another 30 minutes probably. I've seen both. I've honestly seen both.
We've seen it all.
We're doing 1080, 60 frames.
30 frames.
30 frames. It's probably pretty light.
Probably pretty light. Yeah. I think we're going to be conserving energy here.
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine. But anyways, yeah. So we as producers of this own podcast, you know, we're strapped to the battery life of our 3 Sony A7
So if you're in the Scottsdale, Greater Phoenix area and you're looking to podcast or produce a podcast, we'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you. Can't emphasize it enough. Okay, so we were talking about now that we're back, the more or less the cool strategy that Ikonick has kind of implemented.
Talk about.
Yes.
The cool thing about Ikonick is the product development and turnaround is in a matter of hours. I mean, it's literally Jeff creates a new piece, or we're bringing on some new artists now, and they create a new piece, and we submit it to the printer, and it's up, it's live, it's on the website. It's where with apparel, like you have to get samples, you have to get a physical product, you have to try it, you have to tweak it, send it back to the product, you get a minimum order quantity, get that shipped to the warehouse, shoot the product. Like there's just like so many different steps where that's the cool thing, because we can grow really quickly as fast as we want. I mean, we get the NBA license, we download all the Getty images, put the quotes on them, and make it happen.
Yeah, and the coolest part is the art is cool on both platforms.
Yeah.
When you see a picture of a shirt,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, that's a picture.
It's a shirt.
When you see a picture of like the Ikonick art, you're like, that's dope.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I can have that on my wall now.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's cool how the cross mediums can communicate and work.
Yeah. It's a space where there's a few competitors, but it's not that saturated. I mean,
no.
You can do a lot with it, and especially if you have the brand and licensing and all these partners that we work with, like it's really easy to grab a lot of market share really quickly.
Cool. And so of the partners, of the people that you work with, so like you can factor in influencers, but then you can also factor in partnerships. So like I know NBA is one, right? I know Monopoly is one as well. And then you obviously have like the Matt Frasers of the world and the different people that you work with. Who is your favorite or top grossing person to work with in terms of like creating pieces around?
It's a good question. I've only been with the company 6 months.
Yeah, just like I said, grossing, in your opinion. What are you most hyped on?
I mean, I'm not most hyped on Matt Fraser, but dude, CrossFit audience are diehards.
Yeah.
Matt Fraser had some juice, like just as much as juice as Gary Vee.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But what I'm really excited for is, I'm trying to think of how much I can disclose. We've got some really cool things in the works.
That's a cool disclosure brag. I like that. It's good. It's perfect.
I want to say it so bad.
No, that's okay.
I'll tell you offline.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for, we're going to do this collection with Pop Smoke. I'm really excited to see how that works out. Doing a foundation kind of campaign around his foundation with his mom. I haven't been on a part of shoots because when I joined, it was like still kind of COVID. So this is my first experience really like going out and working with a lot of these partners. But NBA is sick just because it's high level. We've got a Gretzky and McDavid license coming out. So we're hitting that NHL market, which is tight.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
It's just endless. I think it's really the
I mean, we can go into any space and like, dude, you'd be surprised. Like I used to look at Monopoly and be like, damn, does that really sell? And bro, it crushes. I mean, for offices, I get Monopoly. It. Yeah. So like, yeah, we're doing some really cool stuff. Like I will say in the next 12 months, you will start to see a lot of things really start to play out. And yeah, I'm excited for it.
So, okay. So another thing I had a question on. So I know you guys do, or had done the podcast. Maybe this is more of a question for
We're bringing
Mark.
it back.
Yeah. Which is great. Blank canvas, right? And that crushed. But I also noticed like you guys did a lot of like you had the Dennis Gallagher, Trevor Wallace type, where it was more like comedic.
It was like a knockoff
Decky, pretty much. I mean, when you guys sent me like, yeah, it's gonna be pretty much kind of like Dennis Gallagher, and I watched the whole series. Where does like it just seems like you guys have such a wide net that you're able to cast and just like test in different industries, like. And again, this is probably more of a Mark question, but I'm sure you can.
I keep
saying that, and it's mainly I keep saying that because I just want to ask him on the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
Not saying that you couldn't answer it, but like, where is that on purpose? Is there a reason?
100%.
Okay.
100%. I mean, if we know that creating these characters and creating a storyline hits harder than unboxing a canvas, well then we're going to go way harder into that, right? If we know that doing a partnership with NBA, I mean, here's the thing. When you think about licensing, the NBA is a giant audience, right?
Totally.
If we didn't have the NBA license, the only way we're going to really tap into them is if there's some kind of overlap. But the minute you start thinking about like Monopoly, that's a diehard audience. NBA, that's a diehard audience. You start looking at it from like a macro perspective. We're just land grabbing all these audiences and just building a marketplace where when you go on there, you're like, wow, I like this, I like that, I like this, I like that. And it really just becomes a catalog where it's like, if you like, I mean, we're building a catalog where it's like, you could probably find something that you'll fall in love with.
Right. And it's the best example would be like people bought art this past weekend from a campaign that I had done, but like they were buying stuff not because they were like, oh, let's buy the Decky West Coast Ikonick pieces. They're just like, let's go buy what I like.
Yeah.
And there's the Monopoly people where like you and I are sitting here like, who would buy a Monopoly piece that many times over?
Yeah.
But there's an audience there.
Yeah.
Just like there's an audience for like the Kevin Garnett pieces that are that I've seen teased on this NBA Legend stuff.
They're live now.
They're live now. Or again, it's so subjective to the people.
Yeah.
And there's so many niche audiences that you can capitalize on. Like the more I've invested my time into like how Ikonick works, I'm just like, this is so genius.
It's a machine, bro.
It's a
machine. It's like we can go as wide and as deep as we want to.
Yeah.
And the fun part about it is like we've built a massive company off of, we only sell canvases, right? So now think about it as, okay, so let's say you like more of the typography one. We have a cool one from Damon John that does really well. It says, remember your why, okay? That's a really powerful quote that resonates with a lot of people. Now imagine if we came out with candles and we did like a 3-pack subscription model where you could choose your scent and choose your quote, and it's going to send it to you every month or every other month or once a quarter.
Right.
And so like we can get into different product mediums. Yeah, we're going to come up with mugs. We're licensing out notebooks to retail. So we're going to get in retail stores like Urban Outfitters and Target.
The scalability's out.
Yeah.
The roof,
so
man.
the fact that like, here's the thing. When most people build a company, it's really easy to be like, let's do everything at once, right? If you can do one product and do it really, really well, and you can build a lot of revenue and a lot of distribution, think about how much easier it is once you get to 500,000 followers and however big our email list is and our text message list. Now when we start, be like, okay, you already love our canvases. Now we have candles. Now we have notebooks. Yeah, it's like you really build an audience that's dedicated because you only sell one product, right? Yeah. And so when you can expand that product medium, like, I'm excited, bro.
Also 9 people in the company, and also coming up with concepts and rolling them out within 3 hours to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like we're talking.
I mean, NBA, he made them on Monday or Friday of last week.
Oh my God.
And I came back on Tuesday because everyone had Monday off because 4th of July was on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, everyone knows what you're doing on for this NBA collection. And we pumped it out in 4 days. All the teasers, all the social rollout, all the stories, like, yeah, dude.
To me, that's the cool, like, that's the most impressive portion.
Yeah.
And I get there's the idea and the concept and the scalability is all there. But like the fact that you can execute so purely in that time frame is just like fun to watch that hustle and fun to see the enjoyment behind that too.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there have been days where it's like, oh man, gotta get this out, and I'm crying,
Going back to the overwhelmed conversation, there has been many points this week where I'm like, holy shit. But at the same time, it's like, it's Friday. We launched the collection. It's rolling out over the weekend. It's going to go through the final series. And it's something where it's like, when you look at the challenge, you're like, how the hell are we going to climb Mount Everest in 4 days?
Right.
And then you're at the top and you're like, that's exactly how we do it. It's one day at a time, one task at a time, and just breaking things down and working as a team.
Yeah, dude. I think it's just it's fun, and aren't you just glad you're in the situation you're in?
I am.
Yeah,
I am.
And there's nothing I would ever wish on anybody more than simply that, and just being excited about where you're at.
Yeah.
And if you're not excited about where you're at, then it's time to pivot, right?
100%.
And we are all in different spots, and I think we've all been in those situations where we don't like where we're at, and we have to pivot.
Yep.
And what better way to understand it, that you love where you're at, to have those comparisons of where you didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I think back to what Mark had said earlier about making sure you recognize your flowers and understanding where you came from, or just recognizing what you've done in the past, man. Brandon, you've done some cool shit, man.
We out here.
You've done some cool shit.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I'm proud, and I'm stoked that we both live in the greater Scottsdale area where maybe potential podcasters, other podcast producers reside.
Yep. I appreciate it, bro.
It's only up from here, man.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Up and to the right.
Up and to the right. It's that simple, man. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Godspeed.
Godspeed.